we want to look at cloud computing. Cloud computing is the use of remote servers on the internet to get work done, right? No matter what it is you are trying to do, it could be on a small scale or on a large scale. There's always something for you on the cloud. Now, what are the benefits of using cloud, right? So cloud requires little or no investment. When we talk about investment, we are looking at capital outlay, right? Or cost of acquiring servers, cost of getting a building where you put the servers in, and all of that. So we also look at another benefit, which is it gives you the opportunity to focus on your business. Is your business selling cars? Is your business trading online? Is your business building apps, right? So you can focus on your core business, right? Instead of having to think about getting servers running, right? So because that's usually could be so much pain. Then also, it requires less manpower, right? Less manpower or no manpower, depending on the scale of operations. If it's a startup, a small business, a very, very small business, maybe a one-man business, you can actually run using the cloud, right? Without having to employ someone at the initial stage, okay? So now, to better understand the benefits of the cloud, so I'd like to use an example of two persons. Yeah, the first one is Peter and the other one is Paul. Okay, so now for Peter likes to do things traditionally, right? And Paul likes to embrace new things, right? So Paul heard about cloud computing, and Paul wants to consider using cloud computing. So now let's see how it goes. So they both have access to, let's say, $200,000 each, right? And they both want to sell on a platform like Shopify. So for Peter, because he's a very traditional person, he decides to, for his accounting, he wants to set up a server so he can have an ERP system running. So he gets everything networked, right? So he spends a huge sum of money on that, trying to get it running, brought in professionals to get the networking done. And anytime he wants to account, he has to make sure he's at his office just to make sure he does his entries. Now, he's so focused on getting the servers up that he has spent a lot of money. He has engaged some manpower, a consultant to get things running. And it's also stressful for him because he has to be in the office to get his work done. Now, Paul, on the other hand, embraced cloud, right? Instead of setting up ERP, he decides to go online to look for accounting softwares. Then he comes across the likes of QuickBooks, Wave Apps, and all of that. Then he decides on the one he wants, right? Based on the features. Then he's able to do his accounting on the bed, account for the sales, manage orders, ensures that the orders are shipped on a timely basis. So he is spending little or nothing because some of those applications could be as low as $30, $40, right, per month, or even less. And is able to attend to customers' orders, meet up with their demand, and replenish his stock. Whereas Peter, on the other hand, is struggling to get servers running, okay? And Paul is able to do his work, account for his products right on his bed, right? So now, looking at those two examples, we can see how cloud has been of immense benefits than the regular traditional approach. Now, looking at this, I'm on AWS website, right? So AWS is an example of cloud providers, right? Is an example. Other than AWS, we also have Azure. Then we have the Google Cloud Platform. So AWS is the most popular and they have the biggest market share because they've been around longer than the others. Also, Azure comes next in terms of market share. Then we have the Google Cloud Platform coming in third place. So those are the three dominant cloud providers that we can talk about. So looking at Amazon, let's look at all the products they have. So here are the featured products, popular products featured. So in terms of analytics, right, these are some of the products that can be used for analytics. Now, let's look at compute. We'll see compute, Amazon EC2, right, which is a virtual server in the cloud. This is something we are familiar with. So these are examples of domains under the compute domain. Okay, so we have database. You can see these are some of the products under the database domain. So let's look at another important part, which is the storage domain, right? You can see we have S3, we have EBS, we have the EFS, we have the FXX for Lustre, we have FSX for OpenZFS. So you have so many of them. We have this for migration, right? So just so many for security, right? You have IAM, right? You have Amazon Cognito. So these are different products that we can look at, but as much as possible, we pay attention to the most popular of the products. Okay, now there's also something very important that we can look at when we are discussing cloud. Sometimes we talk about the public cloud, we talk about the private cloud, we talk about the hybrid cloud, right? Those are some deployment models, right? So when you talk about the public cloud, so public cloud, as the name sounds, public for general public. So public cloud is a cloud where different people can have their share, right? It's like a general location where different people can have access to their portion of the cloud, like it's a shared platform, right? So that is the public cloud. So when you talk about private cloud, you are saying, oh, I want this cloud built for me alone. So this server should just be for me. It shouldn't be shared. So for example, some organizations in the financial services industry, right, they want to have a private cloud, because of companies' policies and all of that, security. Although public clouds are also very safe in terms of security, right? Security is top notch. However, for those organizations in those industries, they will want to ensure that they have private based on the company's policy, right? They have their policy on the use of resources. So that's that on that. So now when you talk about hybrid cloud, so you're looking at organizations using both the public and the private clouds. So we talk about hybrid cloud. So now, aside that, we can also talk about something like software as a service, infrastructure as a service. That's where you look at service models, right? Software as a service, infrastructure as a service, talk about platform as a service, right? So, for example, looking at EC2 that we've been familiar with, right? EC2, virtual servers in the cloud. EC2 is an example of infrastructure as a service, because with EC2, you get your own server, you install your applications, you get things running, right? So that is EC2, infrastructure as a service, right? Offered by Amazon, right? So infrastructure, you get the entire infrastructure so that you can set up your own server, you can have your applications running, So that is infrastructure as a service, right? Now, there's also another one we can look at, which is platform as a service, right? With platform as a service, what do you get? You get a platform, right, that has so many things already set up, but all you need to do is to manage your data and particularly your codes, right? For example, you can look at Elastic Beanstalk, right? Elastic Beanstalk, which allows you to, let's check it out, Elastic Beanstalk. It allows you to use the platform, you can use it for app deployment, right? So you can use the existing platform, just upload your data and upload your codes, right? So you can use that platform. So you can look at that as platform as a service. You are not setting up your servers, you are not installing the apps like the Tomcat application and all of those in it, right? You're just using it for your deployment. Everything has been prepared. That's platform as a service. Now you have software as a service, right? So with software as a service, you use the already set up application, right? Just as we have with New Relic, right? You can call New Relic a software as a service, because with New Relic, all you need to do is to bring in the applications or the websites or whatever it is you want to monitor, bring it into New Relic, then you start monitoring, right? So the platform is already set and all you need is just the software to run, right? Like the example we also give while introducing cloud computing is also maybe the use of QuickBooks and the rest, right? So we can also look at those, or the use of emails, the use of Facebook, right? So those are software as a service. So now, without dwelling so much in that, let's try to take a look at some popular products, right? So for the purpose of this session, we'll just take a look at compute, right? We are familiar with Amazon EC2. Let's just play around the Amazon EC2. Then we'll look at some other things. Then we go to storage in the next session. So let's look at this. So my account, right? Let's say I want to sign in. So what do we do? Sign in. I already have an account created, but assuming I do not have an account created, what do? I need to come here to create a new AWS account. So you enter an email address, then you verify your email address, right? And if you want an account name, right, you can change this name after you've signed up. So depending on what you want, right? But for me, I already have an account that I've created. So I just want to sign into an existing AWS account. Okay. So, okay. So I just want to sign into an existing AWS account. So what do I do? And to sign in, and to enter my password. So this is my account, right? So I can look at services to see all the available services, right? I'm trying to look at compute. So let's look at EC2. So for the purpose of this session, I'll be creating launching two instances simultaneously because I'll need them for future exercises. Okay, so let's just do that. So I want to launch instance, right? I want to launch instance. So you can see this is name, right? So there might be other tags, right? If you were other than name, you might want to say, oh, department or environment. You can create other tags, right? So, but I'll stick to what we have by default, right? I can say test. Let me call this test. Test. Okay. So I come here. That's my tag. So I can select from several Amazon machine images, right? So these are like operating systems, right? So AMI is to AWS, and operating system is to the regular computing. Okay, so you can see the different options we have. So you can browse more AMIs, right? You can see the different AMIs that are available, right? Quick start, the ones created by me, I've not created. These are the ones that are paid. These are the ones that are free, that's published by anyone, okay? So these are the different AMIs that we have, okay? So these are the different AMIs that we have. So for the purpose of this, I want to go to, I want to search community. I'll see community. Let's look at the options we have here. Community. So see different options under community. So let's see, we can also use other filters, right? We can specify just red hat, right? Under community, you can specify just red hat, you can see. So there are several options that can be selected here, right? So these are the several options we have. So you can look at different options, right? So these are the community AMIs. Okay, now, so let's look at the commonly used ones, right? These are free tier eligible, commonly used ones. So we can select this. This is free tier eligible. So I'll select that. Okay. So I select this. I see T2 micro, right? So we can also compare instance types. You can see several instance types and what is paid for them. So this one's up here, you can see their virtual CPUs and the memory, right? You can see what we have for each of them. You can see their memory. So these are the virtual CPUs they have. So as we go down, we see that the vCPUs are getting larger for each class, okay? And also the memory, right? So You can also, from cost perspective, see 0.02 USD, right? So it's also increasing as we move up, right? You can say the costs are getting higher, right? 1.59 USD per hour. Okay, so this shows the cost structure, right? So in our case, I want to select T2 micro. So I'll select T2 micro, okay, which is what I have here by default. Selecting T2 micro. So select instance type. So key pair, I can create a new key pair or use an existing key pair that I have. I like to use the existing one that I have. So now in terms of network settings, right? This is where you create security group or you use an existing security group, right? So you can allow SSH traffic from anywhere or specify that you only want SSH traffic from your IP address or custom if you have a particular space you want IP, okay? So now that's on that. So we can also see here that you can configure storage. You might want more than 10. So 10 is the minimum you can have, but you can configure more than 10. For free tier eligible, you can have up to 30 gig, right? So that's that on that. So these are the several options, right? You can check out advanced settings for some other possibilities, right? You can see other options, right? You can see other options. If you want to install a package, right? A simple installation, you can put in your script here, right? To install a package. So these are different things you can do, right? With AWS, right? While setting up, launching an instance. So as I mentioned earlier, I want to launch 2 instances which will be used in the course of our subsequent activities, okay? So I believe I've considered, okay, let's look at under configure, right, storage. I could choose to configure more, right, up to 30, right? I could choose configure up to 30. So if I go less, we'll realize that what comes with it, right? The Amazon machine image that comes by default is usually more than what it's going to be, the requirements will be minimum of 10 gig. So we'll go with the default. So this is what we have. So we can launch the instance straight away. So we have 2 instances launched. So let's check it out. So let's see the instances we have. Let's check the dashboard so that we can see what we have running. So let's see the running instances. So these are the running instances, right? So we have 2 running instances. I want to say, let's call this test 1, and let's call the other one test 2. We can rename them test 2. Okay. So we can rename them. So we can see different details about the instances we have. Okay, let's look at the first one. So we can see the information about the instance, right? Which we can also call the metadata, right? So details, so you see security, right? Here's where we can set up our security group. We can set up our security group right here, can set up our inbound and outbound rules. Can see networking here, right? It shows us our public IP address. It shows us our private IP address. It shows us our public IPv4 DNS, and it shows the private IP DNS name, okay? So you can see the information we have about the network, okay? Information we have about the network. So if you are looking at storage, you can see EBS, right? You can see EBS, that's Elastic Block Store, right? Which is mounted to the application, to the instance, right? You can see the volume that we chose, the default volume, which is 10 gig, right? So it could be more. So you can look at this as when you look at this HDD, right? At this drive or SSD, right? When you are looking at regular computing. So this is the EBS mounted. So this is the EBS mounted. So we'll look at EBS when we are discussing storage, and see status check, and see monitoring, right? Monitoring, can see tags, right? Remember the tag we created when we looked at default, right? We just chose name. It could have been any other tag, right? Can you add additional tags? Yes, you can. So you can add a new tag. Okay, so you want to say, oh, this environment that test one is used for. You can say environment for this. You can say it's for dev stage, right? That's the environment. For this, you can say it's dev stage. Okay, so that's one way of defining it. So let's see what happens. You see, so test 2, we can come to test 2 and check out test 2 and say test 2 has to do with, we can say the environment for test 2. Let's add the tag environment. So these are options, right? Environment. We can say this is production. So this, we have dev dash stage, and this is for production. That's right, for production. Okay, so this is for production. So these are environments, right? So we can create tags. So let's limit to running instances. So this is what we can do with AWS, and most of these things we are already familiar with it. So in the next session, we'll be looking at storage. See you in the next session.